to know enough. Too old to play the part, too cool for showing up. Too dumb to say what's smart, so I'm a substitute waiting for the game to start. But I ain't trying to get played like change your heart. And may I park and find me another ride. I'm letting Florence tell you how I feel inside.
So some of you may or may not know that I have a suit shop. I rent tuxedos, suits. I sell suits, sell tuxedos. And this week, well, let me just back up and say, if you work in retail, then you have dealt with people long enough that you know people will literally complain about anything. I'm convinced at this point that people would complain about the temperature in heaven, right? Like they would go up to God and be like, I know it's 70 and sunny here, but kind of like a little rain, I mean, people are just never satisfied, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, especially when it comes to certain things. And I think it has more of an impact on what the event is. So, for instance, since I deal with weddings a lot of times, people want things to be perfect in an imperfect world. There is no perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. But some people want it to be so perfect that they have paralysis by analysis. In other words, they look at something so much, and I do this because I have clinical OCD. They look at something so intensely and overanalyze it so much that they will find a flaw no matter what. So people, even if something fits correctly or something, it's too perfect. Let's just hypothetically say they try something on, it fits great. If you're gonna get out a magnifying glass and we're gonna sit down and examine the product, we're gonna find a flaw. It's just inevitable. And I thought it was funny this week because I had someone pick up these suits and they were going to drop them off to the groomsmen's houses. And this is always sort of a nightmare scenario, but you kind of just have to go with it. Because a lot of times if you don't wear suits, you don't know how things are supposed to fit. So before she left, I told her all the adjustments that could be made, especially with the rentals. You can adjust the pants on the side. You can adjust the vest. Um, the jacket is usually supposed to be tighter fitting in the shoulders. It's not. It's not going to fit like a nice poofy winter jacket. Anyways, it's a suit, so it's gonna fit tighter. And anyways, I explained all this to her, and I just knew just by the little rapport that I had with her that she's the type. She's a Karen. Okay, I don't know how else to say it. I knew by that interaction that I had that I'm probably going to be seeing her again. I'm probably going to be dealing with this situation more than once. Something's going to come up. Now, granted, my specific store has a 4% replacement rate. That means 96% of the time, if I do the measuring myself, we don't have to get any replacements done. I've been doing it 14 years. I'm not perfect, but most of the time, we get it right. We have things they can try on, pants, jackets, etc. Nevertheless, I told her all these things, and when I opened the door, when I opened my shop the next day, I see her getting out of her vehicle with all these suits, and I'm thinking, what's going on, And I see her walking in, and she goes, well, all of them had problems but one, and I'm thinking in my head, that's just not possible, unless we are getting down to the point where it's scientific, where we're examining the infinitesimal threads on the garments themselves. And these are guys that don't typically wear suits, so they don't particularly know how they're supposed to fit. Anyways, I said, and you'll realize this if you deal with consumers long enough, it's better to not, like, you can kind of make your point, and then if it's not received, it's better to just leave it alone, because most of the time when we're confronted with something that goes against our beliefs that we've instantiated in our brain, we will double down. So if I bring to you more evidence that's contrary to what you just told me, our natural inclination is to be defensive and be like, no, that can't be true. That's not true. I know it's not true. And you see this a lot with particular people that, a lot of times in certain religions. And I mean, it's just a natural, I feel like, human thing that we do. We double down and we don't want to admit it. Okay. So, all that being said, I knew that there was no way to convince her that things were right. So I said, what would you like me to do? So I ordered her new stuff, all new stuff for all the guys, even though I know it's not wrong. There may be, a thing or two here that could be tweaked if we're going to get, super technical with it. But anyways, I said, okay, what would you like me to do? She gives me a list of things to do. I order them. I get them in the very next day. That's almost impossible for any big chain to do. They can't get you something the very next day. I can. So she comes, picks everything up. I take out her stuff that she did not like, did not want. She says, okay, well, I have them try them on tonight. And if they don't fit or something, I'll let you know. And I said, well, they should fit, because we've addressed all these issues and we've changed the exact things that you've told me to change. Like you said you wanted a bigger shirt. In other words, you're telling me that this bigger shirt will fit. That's what you need in order in order to make it work. You need a bigger shirt. You need a little bit bigger jacket. So all I can do is do what you tell me to do. And if it's still wrong, if it's still not up to your standard, there is nothing else I can do. There is no further steps I can take. So she leaves the store, comes back the next day. I see her. She's picking up something else. And she says, so and so needs his other jacket that fit better. We never even changed his jacket. Right? So this is a phantom issue. This is a phantom problem. It didn't exist prior to today when she's mentioning that he needs a new jacket. Another thing, this one guy had ordered some pants and she wanted them a half an inch longer. A half of an inch. That's this much. She comes and says these pants are way too tight. And I said, ma'am, these are the same pants. They're just a half an inch longer. I ordered him the same thing. We took out the pants that I ordered that were a half inch longer. And then his old pants that were supposedly perfect just needed to be longer. And we compared them. They were the same. With these type of people, there is nothing you can do to satisfy them. And that's when you have to throw your hands up and say, there's nothing else I can do. We live in an imperfect world. And if we're looking for perfection, we're never going to find it. And I think especially with big events, we create problems because we want it to be so perfect, so precise, that we ruin the event by our own actions. We ruin how the fun and entertainment that we could have by just our own projection of what it should be like instead of just enjoying it for what it is, right? I don't think I've ever had a mom FaceTime every groomsman to see what their suit was like, what it fit. And what's always funny to me is when someone, like someone tries on a shirt and says the sleeves don't fit. Well, if you raise your arms on any shirt, the sleeve's going to come up just by your elbow joint pulling it up when you raise your arm. It's inevitable. And plus you're not going to be walking around like Frankenstein all night. So the moral of the story, put a bow on this thing, wrap it up, is you cannot satisfy some people. There's nothing else you can do. And we shouldn't we should try to enjoy life for what it is and realize that some things, even though we want them to be perfect, they're just never going to be that way, right? I mean, I know you want a wedding to be as perfect as it can be, but you're going to ruin the time that you have and the time that you could, enjoy the moment by just hyper fixating on examining everything, right? I don't know, and I feel like this happens a lot in our lives when we want something to be perfect. We just want it to be, whether it's a speech or a YouTube video or you going on a date or you have to at some point just let go of the reins a little bit and just let the thing happen, right? I don't know. That's what I got. I don't know if that has any value to you out there, but if it does, cool. And if not, well, maybe you'll like the next video. We'll talk to you later. Don't be a Karen.